There will be 15 teams in the West this year. 9 make the postseason. Obviously, the 8th and 9th seed do that little play-in game. But 9 make the postseason, and that means 6 are on the outs. It would go a long way, even being that 8th or 9th team. Like, I'm not saying I'm satisfied being the 8th or 9th team, but it would go a long way to move from where we were to getting some sort of postseason action step in the right direction.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
What's going on, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of No Other Pod. I'm Jimmy, along with my good buddy Daniel Kooser. Dan, what's going on, my friend? I see that Chiefs sweatshirt you got on there.
What else would I be wearing on this day of all days? It's, I could wear a KU sweatshirt, but that's just double overtime heartbreak, you know? So you got to go with what's good in the city, man.
It's funny. I was in a group chat yesterday during the game. We're recording this Monday, so obviously the game was Sunday. I was in a group chat, and a couple other people in the group chat live in Kansas City, and but they're not Chiefs fans. I didn't realize of the 5 people in this group chat, I was the only one pulling for the Chiefs, which was a little interesting. So I was like,
who are these people?
Well, you know.
How do you know them?
Through soccer. One of them is Chad Smith. He's a Raiders fan.
He's a Raiders fan?
He's a Raiders fan. Put him on blast.
Hold on, dude. Do you remember I once said, you could quote me on this, Chad Smith is like the nicest guy, dude. I'm over it. Chad, done. There's no way you're the nicest guy. There ain't no way. It's all an act.
Known Raiders fan.
Woo, just shouting it proud, huh? That's
so he wasn't. And then I was talking to Daniel Sperry for a little bit. He's a Niners fan. He's from the Bay Area. So he's
right. Everyone's real mad, real salty, a lot of sand up in their butts. I get it.
And I'm like, look, I'm a Packers fan, but I got no reason to hate the Chiefs. Like if the Chiefs played the Packers in the Super Bowl, I'd cheer for the Packers, but we got no beef. We played in like Super Bowl I. Who cares? I don't care.
It's bad, dude. It's what a time to be alive. We're witnessing something wild.
Were there just fireworks everywhere around your house after the game?
I mean, I heard some. We were in the basement, so you really couldn't hear a whole lot. And we watched Saturday Night Live afterwards, so we wasn't really paying attention.
Yeah, no, there were I had immediate neighbors shooting off fireworks. And there's one guy in my neighborhood somewhere not too far from here, I think a few houses down, who in the regular season was shooting off a firework after every single Chiefs touchdown. And I was like, we don't need to do this. This is terrible. My dog hates this.
It's a little excessive. I understand. But whatever, man. Everyone's, I don't know, no one's really caring about dogs, as sad as that is. Like, no one gives a shit about dogs.
Well, and it was funny because the last playoff game, when they did the flyover and it was the helicopters, those flew right over my house on the way to Arrowhead. And those things were so low, and there's like 4 military-grade helicopters with like 2 propellers each. It shook my entire house from the air that they were pushing down. And my poor dog's like, what the hell is happening? And so this time it was the B-2, and it was loud, but it didn't shake the house the way that the helicopters did. But
I love a good stealth bomber, man. Love it.
It flew over my house like 3 times before the game because it was just, I think, doing circles, waiting for it to be the right time. And then it was to do Arrowhead. So...
how fun. What a time. I had some good snacks. I had some good people over. Hell of a day.
Super Bowl. Now they got the Eagles, and everybody, like, if you're not from Philadelphia, I feel like you hate Philadelphia sports fans.
Yeah, I think you would, but I mean, are people picking the Eagles in this game?
This is hard. Like, I've seen a lot of people, the general sentiment, if you're not from Philly and you're not from Kansas City, the general sentiment I've seen seems to be like, this is the worst case scenario. I hate
of course.
Teams.
But why wouldn't you just use Saquon Barkley and just torch our run defense? You know,
we'll see.
Does that not seem like the way to the game plan? That just makes sense.
I mean, probably, but they got some offensive line injuries, and we got, Chiefs got Chris Jones right there in the middle. So
you think it's good? Early odds look good, huh?
Last I saw, I want to say it opened at Chiefs -2.5 is the first line that I saw. So
I am ecstatic, bro. That is 5 days before I get new hips. I could go into this whole new life feeling great.
There you go.
Wonderful.
You're gonna have some recovery, I bet, after that. We're gonna have to do some PT and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, but I'm a monster, dude. I'm a monster. It's not gonna be a problem.
That's good. I hope recovery goes well for you. I'm sure we'll talk about that closer. I found out that my dog this last weekend, I found out that she has to have surgery on her knee. She has a torn, it's a CCL, but it's the dog version of the ACL.
She's got the old torn CONCACAF Champions League, huh?
Yep. That's exactly what it is. And so she's got to have surgery on Thursday, and then it's going to be 8 weeks of trying to keep her confined and not moving. And she is
Good luck with that
dog, so that's going to suck. And apparently, I have learned that in more than half of the cases where they tear one, they end up tearing the second one. So,
well, that's a fun stat to know.
Yeah, so let's hope that that doesn't happen because, thankfully I have pet insurance, so this isn't like backbreaking financially. It's still a lot of money, even with pet insurance. But this, so I will be. The bummer is I don't know if I'm gonna be able to go to a lot of sporting and current games early on in the season. I'm gonna be watching from home because I can't leave my dog alone. I can't risk her injuring her leg even more while we're in these first 8 weeks. So.
It's scary, man. I mean, we went through it back in November with Splinter, if you'll remember, and we bought a whole little children's playpen that we just kind of use as his kennel from now on because that's where his little play area was.
I mean, look, if anybody has gone through this with a big dog, send me your recommendations. I bought a playpen that had like a 40-inch height, metal gate basically, and I was thinking, okay, hopefully this is good enough. Give her a little more room, and my vet was like, I really would recommend against it for your dog and try to do a crate if you can, just because we've seen big dogs think they can jump, try to jump it, and they don't hit it right. And then they basically have to redo the entire surgery. It's just not worth it. So she doesn't do well in a crate, but I got a little bit bigger crate than her traditional one so she can stretch out. I moved my mattress to the floor, so I'm going to be sleeping on the floor right next to the crate. So it's going to be tough.
Dude, we bought stairs for our bed, for 2 of our couches, like little bitty puppy stairs. It's been awesome. I mean, they use them. They're like, oh, this is nice. I don't got to do a plyometric jump to get up there.
I bought a ramp because I have 4 stairs to get to my backyard down the little deck. And they're like, no stairs. And I'm like, she's got to pee. She's got to poop. And so I bought a ramp that is supposed to be a little bit easier on them to get over those 4 stairs. And I'm going to have the sling. I don't know if you had to do the sling to help support their back half, but they're giving me a sling and I'm going to have to basically hold her up while she's walking around for the first couple of weeks. So
Interesting.
It sucks, but I mean, look, I'm not trying to she's not a human. I can't imagine what it's like going through something like this with a human child, but it sucks that you can't explain to them what's going on. Like, that's what's been tearing me up. I just want to, you're not in trouble. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm sorry. This is for your own good. So, but,
Emotional stuff.
the life of a pet owner.
Yes.
So, and, in other news though, let's talk, there's some sporting stuff, not official. There's some sporting stuff to get to this week, but we've been known to talk a little wrestling for a time or two on this.
Oh, it's Royal Rumble week.
It's Royal Rumble week.
Don't you spoil nothing for me. I can't watch live.
I'm not spoiling shit.
I know. Well, we get excited and you text and we text. It just happens,
Yeah.
Do you? I'm not there. I'll probably watch the first Rumble, the first opening Rumble, and then I gotta go.
Probably gonna be the men's Rumble, I guess. Usually opens with the men's.
They usually close with the men's.
I thought they opened with
past.
I thought last year they opened with the men's Rumble, and it was because KO and Cody in the ladder match is going to be the main event.
No, you don't think they'll close with the men's Rumble?
I thought last year, I remember thinking they were going to open with the women's Rumble, and I thought last year they opened with the men's Rumble, if I remember.
I'm going to pull the veteran card because I have been watching for a little bit.
Long enough.
They have been consistently doing women's opener, men's closer. So
okay,
we'll see what happens.
You're right. The Royal Rumble 2024. This is. I was going to see if this would tell me what the order was of the result. So, but yeah, no, you're right. Last year, the men's Royal Rumble was the main event. But that makes sense because Cody won and he pointed, and then he and Roman had that whole thing. You're right. So
yeah,
I should know better than to second guess your wrestling knowledge.
Yeah, don't question me. It's a nerd thing, Who
do you think's going to win this year? Is Roman winning and we're running it back a third time?
Logan Paul.
No, fuck that.
I'd love it.
So mad.
I would love it. No, it could be a Roman thing. Could be I don't know. I really don't know.
CM Punk. Maybe.
No, because then that negates the favor he's got. He's got a favor.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He ain't gonna win this. He needs a favor.
Is he going to pull a favor to get into Elimination Chamber and then win Elimination Chamber?
Maybe so.
Okay.
Maybe Cena comes in and wins the Rumble. Who knows?
Could be. Because Cena's going to be at WrestleMania. You think they're going to let him main event WrestleMania?
I don't know. But you know how hard it is to avoid spoilers at night like this? Like, I got to just turn off notifications to anything and not click on a social media site. Have you ever not clicked on a social media site in like 48 hours? It's kind of tough.
It is hard. I mute words on Twitter. Like, if you get on Twitter, get on there, start muting things. Mute WWE,
I tried
mute
that.
Royal Rumble, mute everything.
I did that the way you told me when like Marvel was going on and I couldn't see the movie for a while. And then I like saw a spoiler and I was like, I hate this. Like, muting did nothing.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's hard. It's
I know.
I'm excited though. My dog will be 2 days after surgery. I'm probably going to be a mess, but I'll be sitting there watching the Rumble, and it's going to be rough.
It'll be fun.
So
yeah, I think you have a party to go to, but now you don't.
I was going to go over to to a friend's house. We're going to watch it and everything, and he was even talking about getting kendo sticks, and people are going to be hitting each other with kendo sticks. And
what kind of friends is this? I hate this party. I don't want to go and get beat up.
I know he and his friends and his brothers, before they did a chop challenge. They filmed it. They've showed it to me before, where they just started chopping each other with their shirts off.
Yeah.
And one of them wet their hands before they did it. And it made it worse.
One of them wet their pants.
No, well, he wet his hand, and it's worse when it's wet. It stings more.
Yeah. So what are they doing that for?
You're a young 20-something at the time, and you're stupid, and you're watching wrestling, and you have some drinks, and you're like, what if we take our shirts off and chop each other?
I was never that guy. I knew people that did that, and I was like, y'all have fun. I'm going to stay in here and keep eating.
I've never done it. I'm not sure I would participate in the kendo stick beatings either. I think I would just sit there and watch other people be stupid, but
I would take a kendo stick. I don't know if I'd like a steel chair situation. That sounds bad.
I'd almost rather take a steel chair flat against the back than a kendo stick.
Really?
More surface area to spread it out. The welts those kendo sticks give are intense.
Yeah. Yeah, good point.
Anyway, before we go to our break, the reason I bring this up is because there is an MLS WWE crossover that's happening.
Hey, I know.
This is some weird news that came out of nowhere, but MLS is apparently moving their studio out of New York City, and they're moving to Stamford, Connecticut, and they are renting studio space at the WWE headquarters. And so its latest broadcast studio will be solely out of WWE's headquarters, and it says WWE's brand new state-of-the-art production facility. The studios at WWE features best-in-class production offerings and new cutting-edge technology to further elevate the production of MLS Season Pass. It will serve as the dynamic hub for popular MLS live studio programming in English and Spanish. So it says it's going to add new programming. It's got all sorts of technology. I think this is a bit of a hike for the employees, so that kind of sucks. But this was not the news that I expected to wake up to.
Well, I think it's a little different because it's a little bit of an overhaul. Like they ended Extra Time, the Extra Time podcast. Did you hear that?
Yeah, which is
over. Well, what do you think that was about? Like just not enough listeners or something?
No,
I
don't think it has to do with the number of listeners. I'm trying to figure out how delicately I want to put this. I think there are some league executives that don't know what the fuck they're doing, if I want to say it that way. Quite frankly, I think there are some people who are in business roles that don't know or watch or understand soccer, and don't know or understand or appreciate what makes soccer fans and soccer culture unique. And I think, Extra Time captured on an audience that everybody was always mad that they weren't talking about their team enough. Or Kansas City fans always thought Weeby hated Kansas City because he was making up for the fact that he's from here. But Extra Time was a really good podcast. That was a general league podcast that did a good job covering the league from a bird's eye view. And I think there were some venture capital type minds at the league that think they know better than the people who actually understand how soccer works. And that's a bummer. So
makes sense, I guess.
But anyway, so yeah, we're going to see. Are there going to be some WWE and MLS crossovers? I mean, we've seen it like the Big 12 championship. Sami Zayn's there with a Big 12 WWE belt. So we're going to have, Jacob Fatu at MLS Cup championship giving people a belt. Who knows?
I mean, is this WWE's headquarters that it's vacated? Like they're not even in it anymore, right?
No, I think this is their new building. Because they had their old building, they got rid of it. Because they still have a headquarter building where they do all their Netflix stuff out of and everything.
So MLS is sharing a building with WWE?
Yes, that's my
Oh,
understanding.
that's pretty wild.
So much so that there is a giant wrestling ring in the middle of the studio that they will have to move whenever MLS is there to film stuff.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
So,
pretty neat. Could be a fun little crossover. I would love, oh my God, I'd love to work there. I mean, you just cross in the hallway, personalities and shit. Oh, there's Triple H there for a meeting or something. Like, that'd be wild.
look, if Andrew Wiebe doesn't give Sasha Kleshtin a Stone Cold Stunner in the middle of that ring on
yeah.
Season Pass, what are we doing?
I mean, if they don't get like a couple players to have a little Money in the Bank match over something, let's go.
I want to see Bradley Wright Phillips and Sasha Kleshtin just have a ladder match.
But this is not like a partnership between the two things.
I mean, it's basically MLS is renting space from WWE.
Okay, because partnership would be dope, but no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. They have a quote from somebody from WWE, and all basically they say is, we've long admired MLS and IMG's partnership and the product results, and we believe that WWE's new facilities will help take their collective capabilities to greater heights. So WWE is just getting money. But anyway, let's take our break and we'll come back. We'll talk sporting preseason, transfer rumors, and a little bit more. So we'll be right back.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Dude, so I had my pre-op surgery appointments today. Pretty boring stuff. I'm sure everyone wants to hear about this. But get this, I go in at 11:30, okay? Supposed to be done by about 1. Man, I didn't leave there till about 2:30.
Ooh.
Just, you know what? It was just conversations. And it was fine because really I just get in my head about it anyways, and I imagine scenarios about me dying under anesthesia. So
You ask questions.
I start to cry and stuff, whatever. And that's fine. I told Marissa, we're gonna stop talking about it. My nose is tingly. And so then the anesthesiologist comes in, has a Mandalorian skull cap on, like the little surgical thing. I was like, what's up?
You said, I want this the baby.
I was like, we're good friends already. Look at this. But they all just want to listen to your heartbeat. I'm like, man, they must just be listening for stuff and being like, ooh, this guy's not ready for surgery. His ticker sounds a little weird or a little fluid in his lungs or something,
They got to make sure look, I'm probably going to cry when I drop my dog off for surgery on Thursday. And the vet's going to be like, calm down. It's her leg and you'll be fine.
Yeah, but your dog will be just fine.
It's
you're going to cry for me? You're going to cry for my surgery?
I'll cry for you. I'll shed a tear. So
classic. I'll be back on my feet, man. Life is going to be great.
Yeah, you're gonna be good.
Valentine's Day, if y'all want to send me like some candy and stuff, please. That's a pretty busy day.
There you go. Yeah, it's on MLS Media Day.
I know, man. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm gonna try my best to get to Media Day. I just don't know if I'm gonna have somebody. That's 2 weeks after my dog's surgery, so it really just depends on how she's doing.
That sucks. I literally got the email today, and I was like, "Oh, well, that stinks."
You're like 2 days before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't recall it ever being on a Friday. So, like 2 days before would have been pretty dope. I think they've always done a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
I thought it was a Tuesday in years past. So but
that is what it is. But then they're kind of gearing up. Isn't the following week like freaking game match day, dude? Like,
okay, have Champions Cup.
Yeah. The old CCP.
CCC.
I don't know. I said P. I don't know what that means.
Chinese Communist Party.
I don't know. It's like I was spelling.
You're watching too much news.
Sheesh. All right,
as far as I know, the Chinese Communist Party has nothing to do with CONCACAF. But honestly, if they did, would we be surprised?
Who's to say?
There's so much corruption in international soccer as it is that who knows?
We don't know what's going on. We don't know anything in this world. There's some weird shit about it. Everyone being mad that the eggs aren't going down. We need the price of eggs to be lower, damn it.
Turns out they're more expensive now than they've ever been. You saw that coming.
Take the L on that one, buddy.
Let's talk a little Sporting Kansas City preseason here real quick. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this because there's really nothing to take from this, but Sporting Kansas City fell 2-0 against the Chicago Fire, and as we expected, everybody took it just in stride. Nobody's overreacting. Everybody's totally chill and calm about it. The Reddit is totally relaxed. They lost to the Chicago Fire. The Fire had somebody named Philip Zinkernagel. score in the 17th minute, and then Sergio Oregal in the 74th minute. Yeah, I mean, again, you look at this. I'm going to say what I said last time. I don't take a whole lot from preseason. They're trying things out. They don't have a full roster. They're trying things, and I don't know what else there really is to say other than they're getting fit, and transfer window's not even open yet.
Yeah, go look at the lineups. I mean, that's not regular lineups. Again, don't read into this at all. We're not trying to win these games. We're just trying to put different people out there and seeing how they kick a ball around. You know what I mean? We're not expecting to go out there and score 3 goals on every team. Oh, it'd be nice to score a goal. I will say that. It'd be nice. But that's okay. It's fine. I do not read into this. But people do, huh?
A lot of this is about evaluating specific players in specific circumstances. Like, this is not about like trying to beat the Chicago Fire. Like, Peter's looking at a player like I'm probably going to say, I'm sure his name is Jan Jurčić, but trying to evaluate, is this a guy that we want to bring back for some right back depth? And so, he's had some really complimentary things to say about him. Peter has, he said, quote, very interesting player, good instincts in the game, great energy. He's been good. So Peter's looking at the preseason going, okay, maybe I've found somebody who can bring in a little bit of right back depth, because that's an important missing piece right now, because it's just Kyrie on the right side. They're really looking to evaluate Jacob Bartlett. What's he look like in that midfield with Jake Davis? They got Eric Tommy playing on the right side. He's playing a lot more on the wing, which is probably indicative of where he's going to be. But it's very hard to evaluate how good Eric Tommy's going to be consistently on the wing when he's not playing with William McGada next to him, and he's not playing with a DP number 10 who's probably coming behind him. So these are just things that I get it. I know people want a goal. I totally agree. But I can't sit here and get pressed about some preseason losses. If we're 6, 7, 8 weeks into the regular season and we're still talking about we're not scoring goals and we're losing all the games, sure, I get it. Different story. But yeah, preseason. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it is what it is. I hate to even have to talk about it. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It brings me no joy whatsoever or frustration.
I award you no points and make none of mercy on your soul.
I'm like, that's cool. They people ran after a ball for a little bit and got a good little workout. Good deal.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at, I think one of the more interesting things is, with Johnny Russell gone, they've been consistent in that they want to bring in another winger, and obviously there haven't been any signings announced yet. Even if they had announced signings by now, it wouldn't matter for these games. They would not be able to play until after the transfer window officially opens a handful of days from now. And we're probably more than likely going to have at least 2 signings, I would say, announced before the transfer window opens. But Eric Tommy's been playing there on that right side of the wing a lot, and he was asked about it. And Tommy said, quote, wherever the coach plans to play me, I'm always there and will give 100%. We will see. We have a long season ahead of us. If the winger position is the right position for me in the formation, I can totally accept it. So I think it's, I'm very interested to see how this plays out over the course of the season. And if you look at what Eric Tommy has done on the wing versus in the midfield for Sporting Kansas City, Daniel Sperry a few days ago, he said that Eric Tommy played 6 games at right wing in 2024 for Sporting Kansas City. In those 6 games, he had 3 goals and an assist. So that's a little bit over a goal contribution every other game. When he played 56 games as a midfielder, number 10, he had 9 goals and 10 assists, so a goal contribution about every 3 games. So small sample size, but moving him to the wing got him a goal contribution every 2 games compared to every 3 games in the midfield. So that's just, if you're looking for positives, Eric Tommy's likely going to be put in a position where so far in his limited Sporting KC career, he's been more successful in terms of getting to goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. I just think sounds like a broken record. I was on the Reddit today before we were recording for some reason, and I saw someone freaking out and, this is why nothing will change or whatnot. And it was funny because the first comment I saw after this whole journal of a comment, the first comment was, this is why all the Sporting Kansas City podcasts make fun of the Reddit. And I was like, well, it's not just us. No. But I will, again, I feel like I'm a broken record, but I just would preach a little bit of patience. I feel like, Burns and Vermees have been very clear every time they've gotten to a microphone. Yes, there's an increased investment. Yes, we're trying to get people here. Yes, this will probably take 3 transfer windows, and we haven't even gotten officially to the first transfer window of those 3 yet. So just pump the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like, I would guess, we're recording this on Monday. It's probably going to release Tuesday morning. So probably later today, if not by the time you're listening to this, I would not be surprised if Sporting Kansas City has officially announced 2 new signings, because Tom Bogert, Daniel Sperry, and those in the know are reporting that Sporting Kansas City is nearing a deal for Spanish attacking midfielder Manu Garcia from Aris. And as of a couple days ago, Bogert said it was close, but not totally there yet. And what's interesting is he added that Sporting Kansas City are also close to signing a winger from Aris as well. Shapi Sulyamanov is how I'm going to hope that name is pronounced. And both players are coming for about $5 million total. So that's probably a designated player attacking midfielder. Although if they get real creative, they could maybe make him a TAM player, and probably just a depth winger, maybe as somebody who can challenge for minutes on that right side. But I don't know. I'm not going to sit here, like I said, and pretend that I'm an expert on these players, but you look at their highlight packages and they seem like they're somebody who can come in and challenge for some time. So,
I mean, all you can do is look at highlight packages, right? And look for a little excitement.
right.
I find myself doing that thing where I look at an old ex-girlfriend and see what they're up to. And I'm like, Johnny Russell, where you been, bud? What are you up to these days? And there's no movement on this guy. So, I don't know, man. You think Johnny will stick around, or you think you think he'll like stick in the league, or you think he'll go somewhere else?
I think he'll sign somewhere. I think he likes being in the States. He'll be a depth piece somewhere, and it'll be a thing like we saw Beasler somewhere, we saw Thalhaber somewhere,
It
and
feels
it's
like you hear
weird
something by now.
Maybe. But again, the transfer window hasn't opened. He can sign somewhere. He's a free agent, but I'm wondering if teams are waiting to see what they can pull off in the transfer window, and then give it a month or two, and you'll see Johnny Russell signs somewhere for depth. But
I gotcha. I just miss him.
I get it. I do too. And look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm super up on like the Greek Super League, because that's where Aris plays. But if you look at on Sunday, when they played, there were 2 people that were conspicuously held out of their lineup, and it was Manu Garcia and Shapi Sulyamanov. So,
well,
you're not typically holding out 2 of your consistent starters unless there's a reason, and that reason is probably that they're about to be on their way to Kansas City.
Writing's on the wall.
So, we shall see.
Proof is in the pudding.
He's made 18 appearances for Garcia, 18 appearances for Aris this season as a midfielder, 4 goals, 2 assists, and 1,400 minutes. So it's hard to know exactly how that transfers. Different leagues, such different styles of play. I've seen some people be like, it's not great for a designated player, which again, it's probably a DP. We don't know for sure if he's going to be a DP. If he is, he'll be a low-level DP that can probably be bought down if needed. But yeah, I don't know. He's interesting. And Sulyamanov has appeared in 51 games, 7 goals and 5 assists from the wing. He's a Russian winger. So go to KC Soccer Journal, and if you watch their highlights that they've embedded in their story, you'll see some pretty impressive free kick goals from Sulyamanov. He's not afraid to shoot from distance. He's not afraid to pull the trigger. If he can do that, he's going to bring at least a attacking spark and a bit of creativity that Sporting hasn't had from the wing. So I'm interested, but
yeah, me too.
We'll see. Peter Vermees alluded to these signings coming very soon. After or over the weekend, Peter said, quote, "I wish I could give you guys information. There are some things that are very close. Everyone is working to try to get deals done. The expectation is getting those announced quickly. You should hear something about them in the next couple days." So I don't think I've ever had Peter say something that definitive and there hasn't been something that comes from it. So if Peter's saying you're going to hear something in a couple days, it's the No Other Pod curse. We release a podcast, and then there's major news that breaks literally that day. So you
Makes sense. I mean, we could be consistent, or we could wait till something happens. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. The one position where it sounds like they are not pursuing people anymore is goalkeeper, which I think we kind of knew, but Peter basically said flat out, other than goalkeeper, we need help on all three lines. It's Pulscamp's position. He's earned it. Are you comfortable, given what we've seen from Pulscamp going into the season, with him as the unchallenged number one?
I mean, we'll see what, dude. I don't know. Do I have a choice? I mean, it is what it is, right?
Right. Yeah.
But it was like, whenever he came in, he was always a viable, tough guy to be in there. Like, it was like, okay, this is clearly the future when Melia either hangs him up or gets shipped off the squad, but I don't know, man. It's a young dude with, I don't want to say a lot to prove, but he's got a little bit to prove. He's got to show that it's his role to lose.
Yeah, I mean, this is his opportunity. I mean,
yeah, this is it.
He's 23 years old. He's still very young for a goalkeeper.
Bro, Amelia don't get their stride till like 30 years old. I mean, it's similar to it's kind of similar to singers. There's a young voice, and once you mature a little bit, they just sound better and more professional. Goalkeepers and singers. Who knew?
Tim Melia was 29 years old the first year he signed for Sporting Kansas City, and he was a pool goalkeeper almost his entire career leading up to that. He had not made more than 16 appearances, this is according to Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt, but he had not made more than 16 appearances for any given team, and that was on loan with the Charleston Battery in 2010 before he signed with Sporting Kansas City. He was 29 years old, and he didn't even come here as the starter. He came here as the backup, and as many of you may remember, Luis Marin, the Chilean, he comes, it's a disaster. A couple months into the season, they mutually part ways. And then Tim Melia goes on to make 258 appearances for Sporting Kansas City after then. Post 30. So
it's amazing.
Pulscamp's got 6 or 7 years of lead time before he even gets to the point where Melia just got to Sporting Kansas City. So for me, there were times even last year, early in the season, when Melia was hurt, where Pulscamp was playing well enough where I was like, I don't know if he's giving it back. And then Melia got, healthy and actually played pretty well throughout the remainder of the season. But I think what Peter realized is he was getting to the point where we're either going to have to move Pulscamp elsewhere because he's got career ambitions, and I'm sure there were people talking about him, or we got to make him the number one. And there probably wasn't a better option out there than the guy who's familiar with your system and has shown flashes. This is your year. See if Pulscamp's your guy. See if he's your number one of the future. And if after this year it doesn't work out, then yeah, next year they probably look to bring in another keeper. Or Pulscamp becomes the keeper for potentially the next 10 or 15 years.
Dude, I mean, either one of those things could happen, based on certain credentials that are, certain performance issues and whatnot.
Right. So has Pulscamp had his moments where he's looked shaky?
Yeah.
He has. And so has Melia. But
and I wouldn't say shaky, though. Melia never looked shaky.
Melia's always, I would say Melia's biggest weakness was sometimes he hesitated to come out of goal. He would come and stop, and he wasn't great at punching the ball away. At least not in the way that I would have hoped. Pulscamp's not a ton bigger than Melia, but he's a little bit taller than Melia. He's a little bit lankier than Melia. Melia was
a little longer.
Melia was stocky. Sure. Melia was a built dude. Pulscamp's not built like the tank that Melia was, but you're right. He's longer. I would venture to guess his wingspan has at least 3-4 inches on Melia. That's not nothing. That's something that can be an advantage for a goalkeeper. So
right.
If Pulscamp, if he can get in a rhythm. And that's where I think you really start to saw Pulscamp shine, when he got an extended run of play and he got in a rhythm and he can learn with his defenders. When do I come out? When did you lay it off? I think there might be something here. But we'll see.
We'll see, man.
I don't even know who the starting defenders are going to be at this point.
Right.
So, I mean, those are the big Sporting Kansas City news stories this week. There's not a ton to talk about other than rumors. Nothing's been officially signed. We're still 3 weeks away. Some of the preseason games at the Coachella Valley tournament, they're going to be open to the public. So if you happen to be in California and around Coachella Valley, you can go watch these games in person if you'd like to. But it's pretty dope. I don't know what you're going to learn, but you can go try it.
You're going to learn how to get mad because we ain't scoring no preseason goals, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know. It should be interesting. I think people are getting antsy because, around the league, there's a lot of other teams that have been announcing stuff. San Diego FC announced that they signed Luca De La Torre, the U.S. men's national team player. Charlotte FC signed Wilfred Zaha on loan from Galatasaray. He's a name that people know from his time in Europe. But none of these are official. They can't play and practice with the team until after the transfer window opens. They're just announcing things that are going to happen. So I think Sporting Kansas City will be there soon.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But the most interesting one to me still is it sounds like, according to Tom Bogert, that Atlanta United are bringing back Miguel Almiron for up to $12 million.
Oh, boy.
It's a lot of money for a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
So I know he's been there. He had success, but it feels a little bit of a nostalgia tax. And can you catch lightning in a bottle twice? I don't know.
It's a good question.
And he doesn't have Joseph Martinez there this time.
No, they were quite the threat, man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, we're getting closer. That's what it comes down to. We're getting closer to Sporting Kansas City soccer. If I had a message to fans, I would say, look, if I'm being honest, probably going to have to temper our expectations for this year. Do I think it's impossible that Sporting makes the playoffs this year? No. Do I think this team is realistically going to challenge for a championship this year? No, if I'm being honest. Unless something crazy happens. And it could. But this is the first year. This is a transitional year.
Very much so.
And I think there will be progress compared to last year. But I think if you're expecting a 1-year turnaround from bottom of the league to now challenging for MLS Cup, I don't know that that's a realistic expectation. So,
no, I don't think anyone thinks that. We're not going to flip this league on its head, but I would like to get back to being kind of in the middle and being a conversation topic and be like, could Sporting make a run? Maybe. I don't want to be counted out by the time June rolls around,
You want to be a competitive team.
Yeah.
And it felt like last year at times they weren't competitive. I mean,
the year before we backed into the playoffs,
right.
Tough deal.
Peter would take issue with that, and maybe rightfully so, because in a lot of the games they lost, I think you could say they were mostly competitive except for a couple of mistakes that were killers. The problem was those mistakes continued and were never resolved. So at a certain point, it's a feature, not a bug. So I think that's where I would say you didn't, at least from the fan perspective, is you almost didn't expect the team to be competitive, because even if things seemed like they were going okay, you were waiting for the shoe to drop, and more often than not, the shoe dropped.
Right.
So if you can pull that feeling away this year, for me, that's progress. If you can say, I don't know if we're going to win, but I can expect not to make stupid mistakes that force us to lose, that's progress over last year.
100%.
So we'll see. What would you consider success this year? Do you think you have to make the playoffs for it to be successful, or do you just want it to,
Okay, I think you have to do better than last year, obviously, to be a success. But I mean, it's like, yeah, dude, be competitive. I think making the playoffs is the step in the right direction because we took a year off. And it's like we had that run of years where we were always in the playoffs. Oh, so many in a row making the playoffs again, like Death Taxes and Sporting KC making the playoffs. And now it's like, oh, man, we've missed a couple times a little sporadically here. And you got to right this ship because more teams are coming in. And it's getting harder to win. Back in 2013, man, there were not as many teams as there are now. We won the cup. So I can't imagine seeing us ever on top again unless we get with the program and spend the money that other teams are spending. You see the players that the Galaxy bring in, the LAFC brings in, Miami's doing their thing. And it's like, why can't we do that too? And maybe we are. Maybe we're trying to get some big name players here and see what happens,
Yeah. For me, there will be 15 teams in the West this year. 9 make the postseason. Obviously, the 8th and 9th seed do that little play-in game. But 9 make the postseason, and that means 6 are on the outs. It would go a long way even being that 8th or 9th team. Like, I'm not saying I'm satisfied being the 8th or 9th team, but it would go a long way to move from where we were to getting some sort of postseason action step in the right direction. Ceiling for this team right now, if everything goes well, feels like somewhere in that 5th to 7th range where you make the playoffs. You don't have to play in the playing game, but you're going to go on the road. Now, if some more signings come and things click or whatnot, I reserve the right to say that ceiling gets higher. But for me, a success in 2025 is just get in the postseason and then see what happens. See if you can play a weird game and get to penalties and win a game or two. Like that's all you can hope for. If we're 10th or worse, I'm going to feel bummed. And I'm going to feel like I know that this is a long-term project, but I was hoping that there would be a little bit more progress by the end of the year. So,
yeah, that'd be nice.
You got anything else you want to talk to our dear listeners about before we call it for this week?
Nah, man, good time to sign off. I feel that, Sporting KC2 announced their regular schedule. That's kind of neat. If anyone is into that, and you should be, because I think we do rely on the academy a little bit for the pro player pathway and everything. So,
yeah.
Other than that, though, I mean, there's another preseason game this Wednesday against Charlotte. And, I'm sure follow along on Twitter for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you leave us that 5-star rating and review. If you have not yet done so, we'll read it here on air. Check us out on socials at NoOtherPod, at Dan Kooser, at JCMac03. Shoot us an email, nootherpod@gmail.com, or check us out on YouTube, KCSN Soccer, or via the KC Sports Network app. But until next time, he's Dan, I'm Jimmy. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.
Preseason's almost over.